Hey everybody, it's Jo. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you are all well. Today I thought I would just have a little bit of a play and create a scrapbook page. Now this is a smaller scrapbooking page. It's not an important photo at all. It's not documenting anything as such. It's just clearly to take half an hour out of the day just for me, just to play, just to get out of my head a little bit. So I had this beautiful new Spellbinders embossing folder. Now these are much bigger than the normal embossing folders. It's a 3D one and it is 5.5 by 8 inches, if I remember correctly, which happens to be exactly the same size as my background page that I'm scrapbooking on. So I've been scrapbooking a little bit smaller, and that's mainly because just something a little bit different, and I don't have to think too much. I can get a little page done in half an hour. So what I'm doing here is I'm ink blending the top part of my layout, because where that ink is, I want to emboss with that embossing folder. So I did put down some copy paper just so I get that nice straight line. I'm using my Distress Oxides. I think that one's Salvaged Patina. That's still my favorite color. I love that color. So I've ink blended the top part here, trying to get a nice smooth blend. And then once that is done, I'm going to pop my embossing folder over that. And my folder, there's that folder there. How pretty is that? Reminds me of the old wallpaper from years ago, that embossed wallpaper. So this fits perfectly on my page. And I'm going to run that through my embossing machine. I do have a electric embossing machine, one of the bigger ones. I've got the Go Power and Emboss machine. So that allows me to be able to put this bigger folder in long ways rather than short ways. So I'm just going to run that through. You can see I'm just trying to line this up so that my pattern doesn't end up wonky. So that's just taking me a little time to get that perfect. Fingers crossed. So popping that through my machine now. Let's see. How pretty is that? So you can see at the bottom there, I was just slightly off with the embossing. So all I'm going to do now is bring that piece of copy paper back in again, and I'm just gently trying to add some color. So I'm just being really gentle because I don't want to press any of that embossing that I've already done. So just trying to patch that up a little bit. So now I'm having a little play. That's my photo of hubby and I. We stopped for a bit of a sneaky lunch and a couple of drinks while we're renovating a home at the moment. So we took time out from that and had a bit of a sneaky lunch and a couple of drinks, which is really lovely. So now I've decided that I wanted this to be a little bit more prominent, the embossing to be a little bit deeper. So I'm putting it back in the embossing folder. It kind of clicks back in, and I did add an extra couple of shims, just cardboard shims, to my stack, and I'm running it through again just to get it a little bit deeper, because you'll see here in a moment that I want to run some more ink over the embossed part. So I've gone in now with the Uncharted Mariner Oxide ink, and I'm really gently just tapping at the top of it. And that's just bringing out those top embossed pieces. I really like those two colours together as well, the Uncharted Mariner and the Salvaged Patina. So that is looking better, but you're also going to see here, when I put it through my machine the second time, it actually creased at the bottom, and that was going to annoy me. I know it was only a little thing, So I chopped it off and I've stuck it now onto another white piece of cardstock. So that wasn't actually in the original plan. I wanted it to sit nice and flush, but hey, these things happen, right? And I just knew that it was going to annoy me having that little crease at the bottom. It wasn't something that I was going to cover up. So there we go. Right, there's my photo again. Those flowers are an Altenew set and they have a stencil as well. I think they also have an embossing folder. And that was just something that I had in my stash just laying around. All these little bits and pieces I've just pulled from a big bucket that I have of leftovers. So I've cut that in half so I could tuck it under my photo a little bit more. I felt like the florals were overtaking everything. The doily. Gosh, those doilies are getting hard to get. I really like that particular design and I'm struggling to find them at the moment. So I've just cut myself a couple of thin black cardstock strips just to kind of create a little bit of definition between the top and the bottom and also bring in a little bit of more black, pop of black. I like the look of the black against the white. It just kind of makes everything pop. So that top embossed piece that I've done, I didn't actually use the whole folder. If I'd used the whole folder, it would have chopped my page in half and it would have thrown the proportions out a little bit. So it's probably about 4 inches as opposed to the full 5 or 5.5 inches. And again, I've done the same with those black strips. I haven't ran them the whole way across because I didn't, again, want to chop it in half. So just attaching that doily to my photo, and popping those florals back on. So those florals were coloured using the coordinating stencil and they are just the Pink Fresh inks that I've used for those. So those colours were able to match really lovely with the oxide inks. So I'm mounting them on foam tape for a little bit of dimension. I have mounting tape everywhere. I'm not much of a glue person. I may have said that before. I don't like how the glue warps all my paper and my glue bottles are constantly clogged. I much prefer the tape. I think it gives a cleaner finish. So I am putting a little bit of glue here because this isn't sitting directly to my background cardstock, so it's not going to warp. And just a little bit on the foam tape too, just to give a bit of wriggle room. So my little bits of embellishing, I've kept it all really, really, really simple. These little stamped sprigs are again from another little Altenew set. I find I have lots of bits and pieces left over and I have them in little containers. So sometimes when I just want to grab a quick 30 minutes and have some time for myself, I'll just go through those boxes, those little buckets and pick out bits and pieces that I can use. So I find that comes in really handy. So I've got these little sprigs that I'm going to poke under now, and again that's another little pop of black. And the other little embellishments to the left there in that pink little dish are just a few little bits and pieces. I think they're from a Pink Fresh collection. They could be the Happy Hearts and the Delightful collection. I'm just adding some faux stitching with my white gel pen there, just to take some of the not the starkness, the deep black off. And now I'm just popping on these two little sentiments. So yeah, that sticker sheet is a Pink Fresh one. That is the Happy Hearts collection. I love how a lot of the Pink Fresh collections, you can kind of mix and match with the colours. So just some foam tape on the back there. Probably should have used those thin strips, but I pulled out that big roll, that big Altenew roll, and I just cut that down. If you've got the is it Teflon coated scissors, it's not such a big deal to cut that sticky strip down. So I'm just going to nestle that title just where those leaves are there, trying to keep it all nice and tight. So I kind of find when I'm working on a smaller background page like this, or a smaller layout, that if I keep the whole, more or less the whole photo and the embellishing quite tight, it looks a lot better. So I still like to have that white space. So I don't think that there was actually anything else that I really could find that I needed to put on my layout. It's looking pretty much like it has enough. And that's what I like sometimes about scrapping these smaller layouts, is that it kind of limits you in what you can use. And sometimes that's a good thing, because sometimes I tend to go overboard and I want to throw everything at it. And I needed to stand back and look at it and think, well, that embossing was actually a feature in itself. So now I'm just adding my little splat stamp. That one is such an old stamp. That is an old Stampin' Up one called Grungy Textures or something. I've had it for forever, and I really can't live without it now. I love it. It just about goes on all of my pages. So I've also just pulled out a tag from my tag box. I just wanted to pop that in and add that little bit of the cotton at the top there, just for a bit of extra texture as well. So I'm just going to tuck that underneath there. And then I think I'm just about done. I'm probably going, yes, I was just about to say, I'm probably going for the Nuvo drops now, and there they are. So I've got a few colours there to choose from. I had the yellow, and I had the mint green, and then the blue, and I think I've gone with the mint green. I don't know about you, but I find that those Nuvo drops, sometimes different colours are easier to use than others. So this one here is actually a really easy one to use, but some of the other colours I struggle with. So I'm just looking for my 3 points that I can go to create that visual triangle. And I didn't want to pop it on the emboss part, so it still creates a bit of a triangle where I've popped them on the bottom half there. So that's it. I'm just trimming off that little strip there and I'm done. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you found some value in that. I would love you to click the subscribe button and I will chat to you soon. Take care, everybody.